Captain Nari stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, watching the alien planet grow larger on the screen. The world looked peaceful from space. Green and blue swirled together like Earth, but she knew looks could lie. The Valeth Empire controlled this world, and they were not known for being kind. "Captain," said June from his station. The young engineer's voice was steady, but Nari could hear the worry underneath. "We're getting their landing codes now. They want us to land at the main city." Nari nodded. "Good. Remember, we're here to talk about mining rights. It's nothing more. We keep this simple." Hannah, their medic, looked up from her medical kit. "I still don't like this, Captain. The Valeth have never been friendly to humans. They call us Deathworlders." "It's exactly why we need to try," Nari said. "If we can make peace with them, it opens up trade routes for everyone. Earth needs the minerals on their outer worlds." Day, their pilot, guided the ship down through the atmosphere. The alien city spread out below them like a metal flower. Tall towers reached toward the sky, and flying vehicles moved between them, like silver birds. "It's beautiful," Hannah whispered. "Beautiful things can still be dangerous," Nari warned. "Stay alert." The ship landed on a platform near the city center. Through the windows, they could see Valeth soldiers waiting for them. The aliens were tall and thin, with gray skin and long arms. Their eyes were large and dark, and they moved with a grace that seemed almost like dancing. "Remember," Nari said to her team, "we're guests here. Be respectful, but don't be weak. They respect strength." The four humans left their ship and walked toward the waiting aliens. The Valeth leader stepped forward. He was taller than the others, with scars across his face and arms. His uniform was covered in symbols that meant nothing to the humans. "I am Commander HFY," he said in good English. "You are the humans who want to dig holes in our worlds." Nari kept her face calm. "I am Captain Nari. We want to discuss trade agreements that help both our peoples." The Gar's dark eyes studied her for a long moment. "Deathworlders," he said, like the word tasted bad. "You come from a world so violent that it creates monsters. Even your plants try to kill you." "Earth is challenging," Nari admitted. "But it made us strong enough to travel between stars and offer friendship to other races." "Friendship," HFY laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Your kind knows only violence. You fight wars among yourselves. You poison your own world. You call this strength." June stepped forward, his young face angry. "We're trying to do better. That's why we're here, to build bridges instead of walls." "Quiet, boy," HFY snapped. "Adults are speaking." Nari put a hand on June's arm. "My engineer is right, though. We want to work together. The minerals we need are on worlds you don't use. We can mine them and share the profits." "Share? That—" Voice grew cold. "You Deathworlders understand only taking. You would strip our worlds bare and leave nothing but dust." "That's not true," Hannah said. "We have laws about environmental protection. We can show you our plans." "Plans can be changed," HFY said. "Words can be lies. We have seen what happens when violent species are given freedom to act." The other Valeth soldiers moved closer. Nari felt tension building in the air like a storm. She had to calm things. "Down, Commander," she said. "Give us a chance. Let us show you that humans can be trusted partners." "Partners?" HFY's eyes flashed. "You spy on us even now. Your ship carries weapons and scanning equipment. You map our defenses while speaking of peace." "Standard equipment," Nari said quickly. "Every ship has sensors for navigation and shields for protection." "Protection from what?" HFY demanded. "From the peaceful Valeth, or protection for your real mission." "What real mission?" Day asked, confused. HFY pulled out a device that looked like a curved knife made of crystal. "We know about your secret bases, your hidden fleets, your plans to invade our territory." "That's crazy," June said. "We don't have any secret bases. We came here with one small ship to talk." "Lies the Deathworlder lies. You think we are fools to be tricked by your false friendship?" Nari realized the situation was going bad fast. "Commander, there's been a misunderstanding. We can contact Earth and prove our peaceful intentions." "Too late for that," HFY said. He spoke in his own language to the other soldiers. raised their weapons, long tubes that glowed with blue light. Wait, Nari shouted, you can't just kill diplomats. Spies that are corrected. I execute spies. The first shot hit Day in the chest. The young pilot fell without a sound, his eyes wide with surprise. Hannah screamed and ran to help him, but a second shot took her down too. The smell of burned flesh filled the air. No, June yelled. He charged at the nearest Valeth soldier, but the alien was faster. The energy beam cut through the engineers. Body like he was made of paper. Nari stood alone, surrounded by the bodies of her friends. Rage filled her chest like fire. These weren't warriors, were kids who had trusted her to keep them safe. You murdered them, she said, her voice deadly. Quiet. I executed spies, HFY repeated, and now I will execute their leader. But Nari was already moving. Years of training on Earth's dangerous surface had taught her to fight or die. She grabbed a piece of metal from the landing platform and swung it like a club. The nearest soldier went down with a crushed skull. She rolled under the next soldier's shot and came up with his weapon. The energy beam took out 2 more aliens before they could react. Nari had fought Earth's predators since she was a child. These aliens were dangerous, but they had never faced a true Deathworlder. Impossible, HFY whispered, watching his soldiers fall. Nari turned the weapon on him, but more soldiers were coming. Too many to fight. A net of energy wrapped around her, and she fell to the ground, her muscles locked in place. Fascinating, HFY said, looking down at her. You fight like a beast. No wonder your species is called Deathworlders. Nari tried to speak, but the energy net made her muscles too stiff to move. I could kill you now, the Guvar continued, but that would be too easy. You need to pay for your crimes. And the galaxy needs to see what happens to those who threaten the Valeth Empire. He leaned down close to her ear. You will face our champion in the arena, the great beast that has never been defeated. The crowd will watch as you are torn apart, and they will know that even the strongest Deathworlder is no match for Valeth power. Nari's eyes burned with hate, but she could not move or speak. Take her to the arena, HFY commanded. Let her rot in the depths until the games begin. Soon, all the galaxy will see the price of defying the Valeth Empire. As they carried her away, Nari swore silently that she would make them pay. For June, for Hannah, for Day, for all of them. The Deathworlder girl was going to the arena, but she was not going to die there. She was going to win. The cell was cold and dark. Nari sat on the stone floor, her back against the wall. Her body still hurt from the energy net, but she could move again, round her. Water dripped from the ceiling, making small sounds in the silence. 3 days had passed since they killed her friends. 3 days of stale bread and dirty water. 3 days of listening to the sounds from above, the cheers of crowds, the roars of beasts, the screams of the dying. She was under the arena. The great Colosseum where the Valeth brought their enemies to die for entertainment. Guards had told her about the champion that waited in the depths below. They called it the Kethmore, the Greymane. It had killed every challenger for 7 years. Tomorrow, one guard had said, laughing. Tomorrow, you meet the beast. It will tear you apart slowly. The crowd likes it better that way. Nari touched the small knife hidden in her boot. They had searched her, but they had not found everything. Earth had taught her to hide weapons in places others would not look. The knife was small, but it was sharp. Heavy footsteps echoed in the corridor. Keys rattled and her cell door opened. 3 guards stood there, their weapons ready. Time to go, Deathworlder, the first guard said. The crowd is waiting. They put chains on her hands and feet. The chains were heavy, but not too heavy. She could still move, still fight if needed. They wanted her to be able to run from the beast. It made better entertainment. The guards led her through dark tunnels. Other cells lined the walls, filled with prisoners from many different worlds. Some looked human, but most were alien. Of them watched her with sad, hopeless eyes. Good luck, whispered one prisoner, a creature with blue skin and 4 arms. May your death be quick. Nari said nothing. She was not planning to die. They reached a large metal door. Beyond it, she could hear the crowd roaring, thousands of voices calling for blood. The sound made her stomach tight with fear, but she pushed the fear down. Fear would get her killed. "The beast is already inside," one guard said. "It knows you are coming. It can smell your fear." "I'm not afraid," Nari said. The guard laughed. "Everyone is afraid of the gray mane. Even we are afraid." The door opened and bright light hit her eyes. She stepped into the arena, and the crowd's roar became deafening. The Colosseum was huge, with seats rising up all around her. Thousands of Valith sat watching, their dark eyes hungry for violence. The arena floor was covered in sand. Old blood stained the ground in dark patches. Bones lay scattered near the walls, the remains of other challengers who had faced the champion at the far end of the arena. Another door opened. Something moved in the shadows behind it. Something big. The Grimane stepped into the light, and Nari understood why it had never been defeated. The beast was enormous, twice as tall as a man and 3 times as long. Its body was covered in gray fur that looked like steel in the sunlight. Its head was massive, with jaws that could crush a car. Its eyes were yellow and intelligent, watching her with the patience of a born hunter. But it was not moving like a wild animal. It walked slowly, carefully, like it was thinking, like it was studying her. The crowd fell silent, waiting for the attack. The gray mane stopped 20 feet away from her. It sat down on its haunches like a giant dog and tilted its head. Yellow eyes looked at her with what seemed like curiosity. "Fight!" someone shouted from the crowd. "Kill the Deathworlder." The beast ignored the crowd. It kept watching Nari, making soft sounds in its throat. Not growls or roars, but something else. Something that sounded almost like talking. Nari took a step forward. The Grimane did not move. She took another step. Still nothing.
Act.
"What are you waiting for?" she asked quietly. The beast made more sounds. Different tones, like it was trying to speak. Its eyes were not the eyes of a mindless killer. They were the eyes of someone who was tired, someone who was sad. The crowd began to boo. They wanted action, not this strange standoff. Fight. That Var's voice boomed across the arena. "Fight, or we will make you fight." Guards appeared on the arena walls, carrying long spears with electric tips. They began poking at the gray mane, trying to make it angry. The beast roared in pain and annoyance, but it did not attack Nari. Instead, it moved closer to her, close enough that she could smell its breath, see the old scars on its body. Close enough to die if it wanted to kill her, but it did not want to kill her. Nari realized this with sudden clarity. The gray mane was as much a prisoner as she was. It was forced to fight, forced to kill, just like she was. "You don't want to do this," she said softly. The beast's ears moved forward. It understood her tone, if not her words. One of the guards threw a spear at the gray mane. The point hit its shoulder and electricity ran through its body. The beast roared and spun around, its eyes blazing with fury. But the fury was not directed at Nar. It was directed at the guards. The gray mane charged at the wall where the guards stood. Its claws scraped against the stone as it tried to climb up and reach them. The guards pulled back, suddenly afraid. "See," Nari said. "You know who the real enemy is?" The beast looked back at her. Moment, human and alien stared at each other. Then the gray mane did something that shocked everyone in the arena. It lay down. The great champion, the undefeated killer, lay down in the sand and put its massive head on its paws. It looked up at Nari with eyes that seemed to say, "I am tired of killing." The crowd went wild. They had never seen anything like this. Some were angry, some were confused, some were frightened. The great beast that had terrified the galaxy for 7 years was refusing to fight. "Get up!" Thakvar screamed. "Fight! Kill her!" But the gray mane just closed its eyes. Nari walked over to the beast. This close, she could see how thin it was under its fur. How many old wounds marked its body. How tired it looked. She sat down. Beside it, the crowd's roar faded to confused murmurs. No one knew what to do. This was not how the games were supposed to work. "What is your name?" Nari asked quietly. The Greymane opened one yellow eye and looked at her. It made a sound, a long, low note that sounded like wind through trees. "I'll call you Grey," she said. Not a threatening gesture, but something almost like recognition. More guards appeared on the arena walls. They carried bigger weapons now, energy cannons that could kill both human and beast. "If you will not fight," Thakvar announced, "then you will both die. As cowards." The energy cannons began to glow with deadly light. Grey's eyes snapped open. The beast looked at the weapons, then at Nari. It made a decision. With a roar that shook the entire arena, Grey leaped to its feet. But instead of attacking Nari, it moved to stand over her, protecting her. The first energy blast hit Grey's shoulder. The beast stumbled, but did not fall. It spread its body wide, using itself as a shield. "No," Nari shouted. She rolled out from under Grey and grabbed a bone from the sand. It was sharp at one end, almost like a spear. More energy blasts came down. Some hit Grey, some hit the sand around them. The beast was bleeding now, but it kept trying to protect her. Nari threw the bone spear with all her strength. It flew up and hit one of the guards in the chest. He fell from the wall with a scream. The crowd went insane. The human Deathworlder and the great beast were fighting together. Against the guards, against the system that had imprisoned them both. "Kill them," Thakvar screamed. "Kill them both." But now other prisoners were making noise from their cells. Below, they were cheering, calling out in dozens of languages. For the first time in years, someone was fighting back. Grey looked at Nari with something like respect. Then it charged at the wall again. This time it found cracks in the stone. Its claws dug in, and it began to climb. The guards ran. They had weapons, but they had never faced a truly angry Greymane before. Nari followed, climbing up the beast's back like it was a furry mountain. Together, they reached the top of the arena wall. The crowd was running now, screaming in panic. The unthinkable had happened. Prisoners were fighting back, and they were winning. "This is just the beginning," Nari whispered to Grey. The beast looked at her and made that sound again, the one that sounded like wind through trees. But now it sounded like agreement. They had found each other in the depths of the arena. Now they would find their way to freedom. Together. The arena was empty now. The crowds had run away, and the guards had locked all the doors. Nari and Grey were trapped inside, but they were alive. That was more than anyone had expected. Grey lay on the sand, breathing hard. The energy blasts had hurt him badly. Burns marked his gray fur, and blood dripped from several wounds. But his yellow eyes still watched everything around them. Nari sat beside him, using strips torn from her prison clothes to clean his wounds. The beast was huge, but he let her touch him. He even seemed to like it when she scratched behind his ears. "You're not just an animal, are you?" she said softly. Grey made that wind sound again. Then he did something that surprised her. He used one massive claw to draw shapes in the sand. Simple pictures, a sun, a tree, small figures that looked like more of his kind. "You're trying to tell me something," Nari said. "You had a family?" Grey nodded. Actually nodded like a human would. Then he drew more pictures. Ships in the sky, fire, his family falling down, not moving. "They killed your family," Nari whispered. "Just like they killed mine." Grey's eyes looked at her with understanding. He drew one more picture, a smaller version of himself, alone. "You were young when they took you," she said, "just a child." Beast made a sad sound and lay his great head down on the sand. Nari felt anger burning in her chest. The Veleth had taken everything from both of them. He had turned a child into a killer, forced him to fight for their entertainment, just like they had murdered her friends for no reason. "We're going to make them pay," she said. "Both of us." Together, Grey lifted his head and looked at her. In his eyes, she saw something she had not expected to see in an alien beast. She saw hope. Over the next few days, they were left alone in the arena. The Veleth leaders were arguing about what to do with them. Some wanted to kill them immediately. Others wanted to study them, to understand how a human and a beast could work together. During this time, Nari learned more about Grey. He was incredibly smart. He could understand her words, even if he could not speak them. He could solve problems, make plans, even show emotions like sadness and anger. She also learned that he had been the leader of his pack before the Valath came. His people were hunters, but they were also builders. They had cities and art and families. They were not just animals. "What is your real name?" she asked one day. Gray drew symbols in the sand. It looked like writing, but not like any writing she had ever seen. "I can't read that," she said. "But I need to call you something." Gray thought for a moment. Then he made a sound, a deep, musical note that seemed to come from his chest. It was beautiful, like a song. "Gray," she said, trying to copy the sound. "That's your name, isn't it?" "Gray?" The beast's tail moved in. What she had learned was his way of saying yes. On the fourth day, someone new came to see them. A young Valath, but different from the others. He wore simple clothes instead of a uniform. His eyes were kind instead of cruel. "I am Balm," he said in careful English. "Emma. Prisoner too." Nari looked at him suspiciously. "You're Valath. Why are you a prisoner?" "Because I spoke against the games," Balm said. "I said it was wrong to force people to fight for entertainment. The council called me a traitor." Gray growled low in his throat. He did not trust this new person yet. "It's okay," Nari said, putting her hand on Gray's neck. "Let him talk." Balm sat down on the sand, careful to stay far enough away that Gray would not feel threatened. "I have been watching you," he said. "What you did in the arena, ... It was amazing. No one has ever made Gray refuse to fight before. His name's Gray," Nari said. "And he's not just a fighting beast. He's a person." Balm looked surprised. "You can talk to him?" "We understand each other," Nari said. "He's smart. Smarter than most of the guards." "I know," Balm said. "His people. They were not animals. They had a civilization. Music. Stories. The council destroyed it all." Gray made an angry sound. His claws scraped the sand. "Why are you telling us this?" Nari asked. "Because there are others," Balm said. "Other prisoners, other species that were conquered. They are all over the Empire, in cells and work camps and fighting pits. They have no hope. What does that have to do with us?" Balm leaned forward. "You gave them hope. When you and Gray worked together, when you fought back, word spread, the prisoners are talking. They're saying that maybe the Valath can be beaten." Nari felt something cold in her stomach. "They want us to start a rebellion. They want you to show them how to fight," Balm said. "You are from a death world. You know how to survive. Gray is the strongest fighter in the Empire. Together, you could lead them." "Lead them to what?" Nari asked. "Death. The Valath have armies, ships, weapons. We have nothing." "You have something they don't," Balm said. "You have each other. Trust. The Valath rule by fear. But they don't trust anyone, not even each other." Gray made his wind sound and drew in the sand again. This time he drew many small figures standing. Together, facing a few large ones. "He understands," Balm said, amazed, saying that many small ones can defeat a few large ones. "That's the idea," Nari said. "But it's not that simple. We need weapons, supplies, a way to communicate with." "The other prisoners?" "I can help with that," Balm said. "I worked in the prison administration before they arrested me. I know where the other prisoners are kept. I know the guard schedules, the weak points, and the security." "Why would you help us?" Nari asked. "You're risking your life." "Because I'm tired of being ashamed," Balm said. "My people have become monsters. We used to be explorers, scientists, artists. Now we are just bullies who make others fight for our entertainment." Gray reached out with one massive paw and gently touched Balm's arm. The young Valath looked up at him with wonder. "He's saying he trusts you," Nari said. That's big. Gray doesn't trust easily." "I won't let you down," Balm promised. Over the following weeks, Balm brought them information. Maps of the prison complex, lists of prisoners and their abilities. Details about guard rotations and weapon storage. He also brought them food, real food. Not the stale bread and water they had been getting. Gray especially liked the meat, and he always made sure Nari got her share first, like a pack. Balm observed one day. "He protects you, you protect him." We're family now, Nari said. He's the only family I have left. Gray made a soft sound and nuzzled her shoulder with his massive head. But the most important thing Bomb brought was news from the other prisoners. Word was spreading through the complex. The human and the beast were planning something. Hope was growing in the dark cells. There's a problem, Bomb said one evening. Commander the Javar is getting suspicious. He knows something is happening. He's planning to separate you two. When? Nari asked. Soon. Maybe tomorrow. He wants to put Gray in a special cell, one designed to hold him. And he wants to move you to a different part of the complex. Gray growled. His claws came out, scraping the stone floor. You won't let them, Nari said. We stick together no matter what. There's more, Bomb said. HFY is planning a special event. Victory Day is coming, the day they celebrate conquering 100 worlds. Wants to have games with champions from all the different arenas. The biggest show ever. And he wants us to be part of it, Nari guessed. He wants you to fight each other, Bomb said. In front of the whole empire, he thinks that if he can force you to kill Gray, it will break the prisoner's spirits. That's not going to happen, Nari said firmly. Gray made an agreeing sound and drew in the sand again. This time, he drew two figures standing together, facing a crowd of enemies. He's right, Nari said. We're stronger together. Victory. Day ... That might be our best chance. Your best chance for what? Bomb asked. Nari looked at Gray, and the beast looked back at her. They had the same thought, the same plan. To show the whole empire that the Valath can be beaten, she said. To turn their celebration into their worst nightmare. When everyone is watching, Bomb said, understanding. When all the prisoners see what you can do. Exactly, Nari said. We're not just going to escape. We're going to start a revolution. Gray roared softly, and the sound echoed through the arena. In the dark cells below, other prisoners heard it, and they began to hope. The Deathworlder and the Beast were ready to fight. But this time, they would not be fighting each other. They would be fighting for freedom. Victory Day arrived with bright sunshine and crowds bigger than ever before. The whole capital city was celebrating. Ships from across the empire brought important people to watch the special games. Everyone wanted to see the human Deathworlder fight the great beasts. In the deep tunnels under the arena, Nari sat with Gray and waited. Today was the day they would either win their freedom or die trying. Now both of them were ready. Remember, Bomb whispered through the cell bars, when Gray roars 3 times, that's the signal.
Oh.
All the prisoners will be ready. Nari nodded. Over the past weeks, Bomb had been busy. He had talked to prisoners in every cell, every work group, every corner of the complex. They all knew the plan. The guards think it will be a normal fight, Bomb continued. They don't know what's coming. Gray made a low rumbling sound. He was nervous, but not afraid. His yellow eyes were bright with determination. How many guards? Nari asked. About 200 in the arena complex, Bomb said. But most of them will be watching the games. Only 50 or so will be guarding the prisoners. And how many prisoners? Over 1,000, Bomb smiled. From 30 different worlds. All of them angry, all of them ready to fight. Heavy footsteps echoed in the corridor. The guards were coming. Good luck, Bomb whispered, then disappeared into the shadows. The cell door opened. 6 guards stood there, all carrying heavy weapons. They looked nervous. Even they had heard the rumors about what might happen today. Time to die, Deathworlder, one guard said, but his voice shook a little. They put chains on Nari and Gray, but the chains were loose. The guards wanted them to be able to move around in the arena. They wanted a good show for the crowds. They walked through the tunnels toward the arena. Other prisoners pressed against their cell bars to watch them pass. Nari could see hope in their eyes. Today, everything would change. The arena door opened, and the roar of the crowd hit them like a wave. The Colosseum was packed. Every seat was full, and more people stood in the aisles. Ships floated in the air above, filled with more spectators. In the royal box, Thekfar sat with the most important Valath leaders. He was wearing his finest uniform, covered in medals. He looked very pleased with himself. Welcome, his voice boomed across the arena. Today we celebrate 100 years of Veloth victory. And to mark this great day, we have a special treat. The crowd cheered. The Deathworlder human will fight our greatest champion, Zekfar continued. She thought she could make friends with our beasts, but today she will learn that savage creatures belong with savage creatures. More cheers. The crowd was hungry for blood. Nari and Gray walked to the center of the arena. The sand under their feet was fresh and clean, but it would be red with blood, but not their blood. Any last words, Deathworlder? Vekvar called down. Nari looked up at him and smiled. Just one thing, she called back, her voice carrying across the arena. Neitha isn't your beast anymore, and neither am I. She reached out and touched Gray's neck. The great beast looked at her, and she nodded. Gray threw back his massive head and roared. The sound was incredible. It shook the walls of the arena. It made the windows in the royal box rattle. It was the roar of a king who had remembered his power. The crowd fell silent. Shocked by the sheer force of the sound, Gray roared again, louder this time. Then a third time, and this roar was different. It was a call, a signal, a battle cry that said, now. Deep in the tunnels below, 1,000 prisoners heard that roar and acted. The explosion came first. Bomb had shown them where the power generators were hidden. A group of prisoners with bomb-making skills had been busy. The lights went out across the entire complex. In the darkness, emergency lighting came on. Red lights that made everything look like it was covered in blood. Then the real fighting started. Prison guards found themselves facing creatures they had never expected to fight. A group of blue-skinned warriors with 4 arms each. Flying aliens with razor-sharp wings, rock creatures that could punch through metal walls. The prisoners had been planning this for weeks. They knew exactly where to strike, exactly when to move. The guards were outnumbered and outfought. In the arena, chaos was spreading. The crowd was screaming, trying to run, but the exits were blocked. Prisoners were pouring out of the tunnels, armed with weapons they had taken from fallen guards. "Kill them!" Deathvar screamed. "Kill them all!" But his own guards were too busy fighting for their lives to listen. Gray roared again and charged toward the royal box. The wall was 20 feet high, but Gray was strong. His claws found cracks in the stone, and he began to climb. Nari ran beside him, keeping up easily. Growing up on Earth had made her fast and strong. She climbed up Gray's back like he was a furry mountain, reaching the top of the wall just as he did. The royal box was full of the most important Valith leaders. They had weapons, but they had never expected to actually fight with them. They were used to watching others die, not dying themselves. Gray landed in the middle of them with a crash that broke the floor. His massive paws knocked over chairs and tables. His roar sent several leaders running in panic. Nara jumped down beside him. She had grabbed a guard's weapon on the way up, and now she used it. Energy beams flashed through the air, taking down Valith leaders who had never faced a real fight. "You." Var pointed his weapon at her. "This is all your fault." "Yes," Nari said calmly. "It is." She rolled to the side as his shot missed her. Gray's massive paw hit the bar in the chest, sending him flying across the box. The Valith commander hit the wall and fell down, not moving. All across the arena, the revolution was spreading. Prisoners were working together, using their different abilities to fight the guards. The blue-skinned warriors were incredibly strong. The flying aliens could attack from above. The rock creatures could break through any defense, but it was Gray's roar that held them all together. Every time he roared, the prisoners fought harder. Every time his voice echoed through the arena, more guards surrendered. Nari stood beside Gray in the royal box, looking out over the battle. She could see Bomb down in the arena, leading a group of prisoners toward the main exit. He was fighting with a guard's weapon, and he was good at it. "We're winning," she said to Gray. The great beast looked at her and made his wind sound. But this time it sounded like laughter. The revolution was spreading beyond the arena now. She could see smoke rising from other parts of the city. The prisoners who had escaped were freeing others, attacking guard stations, taking control of communication centers. A new sound joined Gray's roars. The sound of ships taking off. Not Valeth ships, but stolen ships. Prisoners who knew how to fly were escaping to spread the word to other worlds. Look. Nari pointed to the sky. Above them, one of the spectator ships was changing course. Instead of flying away, it was turning toward the arena. As it got closer, they could see that it was no longer controlled by Valeth. Escaped prisoners had taken it over. The ship's weapons fired not at the arena, but at the guard towers around. The city, each blast destroyed a communication center or a weapon platform. "They're helping us," Nari said. Gray roared in approval. Down in the arena, the last of the guards were surrendering. The prisoners had won. They controlled the complex, the city, and several ships. Bomb appeared in the royal box, climbing up the same way they had. He was breathing hard, and there was blood on his clothes, but he was smiling. "We did it," he said. "The whole complex is ours. Most of the guards are dead or captured. The rest ran away." "What about the city?" Nari asked. "The prisoners are taking control of everything important," Bomb said. "Communication centers, transport hubs, weapons storage. The Valeth military is trying to fight back, but they're confused. They never expected this." Gray made a questioning sound. "He wants to know about his people," Nari said. "Other prisoners like him. We found them," Bomb said. "There are about 50 of Gray's people in other prisons across the Empire. We've sent rescue teams." Gray's tail moved in his happy gesture. His people were still alive. "This is just the beginning," Nari said, looking out over the arena. Thousands of freed prisoners were celebrating, but she knew the real work was just starting. "We need to help other worlds, free more prisoners, show the galaxy that the Valeth can be beaten." "The Deathworlder and the Beast," Bomb said. "Leading a revolution across the stars." Gray roared again, and this time his voice carried hope to every corner of the arena. The prisoners heard it and roared back, thousands of voices from dozens of species, all united in their desire for freedom. "They tried to make us fight each other," Nari said. "Instead, we learned to fight together." She put her hand on Gray's neck, and he nuzzled her shoulder with his massive head. The revolution had begun, and it was just getting started. 6 months had passed since Victory Day. The arena where Nari and Gray had first met was now a hospital. The cells where prisoners had suffered were now schools. The place of death had become a place of healing. Nari stood in what used to be the royal box, looking out over the transformed arena. Children from many different worlds played in the sand where gladiators had once fought. Their laughter echoed off the walls that had once heard only screams. Gray lay beside her, his massive form relaxed and content. Round his neck he wore a simple collar, not a chain or a leash, but a symbol of friendship. It was made from metal taken from the old prison cells, hammered into something beautiful. "The morning reports," Captain Bomb said, walking up with a data pad in his hands. He wore the uniform of the new government now, but he still preferred to be called by his first name. "How many worlds today?" Nari asked. 12 more declared independence from the old empire," Bomb said with a smile. "That makes 47 in total. The revolution is spreading faster than we can track it." Gray made his wind sound, the one that meant he was pleased. "Any word from the rescue ships?" Nari asked. "The good news first," Bomb said. Team 7 found another group of Gray's people on the ice world of Kelma. 23 survivors, including some younglings. Gray's ears perked up. His people called their children younglings, and he had not seen any since his own capture years ago. "They'll be here next week," Bomb continued. "The ship is already on its way." Nari scratched behind Gray's ears the way he liked. "You're going to be an uncle to a lot of younglings," she said. Gray rumbled with happiness. Over the past months, 41 of his people had been found and freed from prisons across the old empire. They were slowly rebuilding their society, learning to live free again. "What about the bad news?" Nari asked. Bomb's face grew serious. "The Valeth military is regrouping. They've set up a new base in the outer systems. General Kethvon is gathering loyal forces." "How many ships?" "About 200, Bomb said. "Not enough to take back the core worlds, but enough to cause trouble." Nari nodded. She had expected this. The old empire would not give up easily. There would be more fighting before peace truly came. What does the council want to do? She asked. Council was the new government they had built. It had representatives from every freed species, making decisions together instead of having one group rule over all the others. They want to send a diplomatic mission, Baum said. Try to negotiate with the remaining Valath forces. If negotiation fails, then they want you and Gray to lead a military response. Nari looked down at the children playing in the arena. A human child was racing with a young Valath, both of them laughing. A few months ago, such a sight would have been impossible. I'm tired of fighting, she said quietly. Gray made a soft sound and gently bumped her with his head. She looked into his yellow eyes and saw understanding there. He was tired of fighting too. But sometimes fighting was necessary to protect those who could not protect themselves. The Kelma refugees will need time to recover, Nari said finally, and the new colonies need ships and supplies. We can't afford a long war. The council knows that, Baum said. That's why they want to try diplomacy first. But they also know that General Kethvon only understands strength. A soft chime sounded from Baum's datapad. He looked at it and smiled. What is it? Nari asked. A message from the Earth government, Baum said. They want to establish formal relations with the new republic. They're offering trade agreements and mutual defense treaties. Earth wants to help. More than that, Baum said. They want to learn from us. How we brought so many different species together. How we built a government that works for everyone. Nari felt a warm feeling in her chest. When she had left Earth months ago, it had been as a simple explorer. Now her homeworld wanted to learn from what she and her friends had built. There's something else, Baum said. They want to name you as Earth's first ambassador to the Republic. Ambassador? Nari looked surprised. But I'm not a diplomat. I'm just a ship captain who got angry. Gray made a sound that was definitely laughter. You turned enemies into friends, prisoners into leaders. If that's not diplomacy, I don't know what is. More footsteps echoed in the old royal box. A group of younglings from Gray's species bounded up the stairs, their gray fur shining in the sunlight. They were small versions of Gray, but their eyes held curiosity instead of the old pain. Gray's whole body changed when he saw them. His tail wagged like a happy dog's, and he made gentle sounds deep in his throat. The younglings rushed to him, climbing all over his massive form like he was a living mountain. Uncle Gray. They called in their own language, which the translation devices turned into words Nari could understand. They love him, Baum observed. He never got to have children. Of his own, Nari said softly. The Valath took that from him. But now he gets to help raise the next generation. One of the younglings, a little female with bright yellow eyes like Gray's, climbed up to sit on his head. She looked down at Nari with curiosity. Who is the small one? She asked Gray in their musical language. Gray made a long, complex sound that the translator couldn't handle properly, but Nari caught some of the meaning. Words like pack sister and brave heart and friend who fights. He's telling them about you, Baum said. About how you and he met, how you became family. The youngling looked at Nari with new respect. Then she did something that made Nari's heart melt. She reached out with one small paw and gently touched Nari's hand. Pack sister, the youngling said carefully in English. That's right, Nari said, feeling tears in her eyes. We're all family now. A new sound came from the arena below. Music. Someone had brought instruments, and the children were singing. The song mixed melodies from a dozen different worlds, creating something new and beautiful. "Listen," Baum said. The song was about freedom, about friends who fought together, about a human girl and a great beast who refused to give up. It was becoming popular across the Republic, a song that children learned in school. "They're singing about us," Nari said. "They're singing about hope," Baum corrected. "You and Gray gave them that." Gray rumbled softly, and all the younglings on. His back made happy sounds. It was content in a way that Nari had never seen before. He had his people back, his freedom back, and a new family that included one stubborn human. "So," Baum said, "what do you want me to tell the council about the Earth ambassador position?" Nari looked out over the arena one more time. The children were still playing, still singing. Parents from many different worlds watched them with smiles. Former enemies sat together in peace. "Tell them I accept," she said, "but with conditions." "Right." "Conditions? Gray comes with me. Wherever we go, whatever we do it together." Gray made his wind sound, the one that meant agreement. "And I want a new ship," Nari continued. "Something big enough for diplomatic missions, but tough enough for anything else we might run into." "Any particular name for this ship?" Baum asked. Nara smiled. "The Gray Dawn, for new beginnings." As if he understood, Gray lifted his great head and roared. But this was not the roar of a gladiator or a warrior. This was the roar of a leader, calling his people to a bright future. The sound echoed across the arena and out into the city beyond. In response, voices called back from every corner of the Republic. Humans and Valeth, Gray's people and the blue-skinned. Warriors, flying aliens, and rock creatures, all of them answering the call. They had been prisoners. They had been enemies. They had been alone. Now they were free. Now they were friends. Now they were family. And at the center of it all stood a human girl and a great beast. Bound together, not by chains or leashes, but by something much stronger. They were bound by trust, by friendship, by the knowledge that together they could face anything. The revolution was over. The new order had begun, and in the arena where it all started, children played and sang songs about the Deathworlder girl, who came back leading their champion on a leash of love. The galaxy would never be the same.